Hello, everybody. Let's start today's session together. No matter where you are, how busy you are, can one put aside everything else? It is very urgent for one to stop the business immediately. The mind can be easily engaged in various things, directions, purposes. All those things keep postponing this very urgent investigation of the human consciousness, which is embodied in each of us. The mind tends to escape, run away into various things that can keep the mind full, occupied. For most people on this planet, life seems to be a journey of escape. Escape from various things, issues, problems, loneliness, sufferings. In that endless escape, life becomes restless. One is trapped in various patterns. No matter how subtle and mechanical they are. Trapped in those patterns, the mind becomes compulsive. And that compulsion, which is losing its control, is driving various behaviors in us, in each of the human beings. And the division between you and me has been so deep. Therefore, the conflict becomes unbearable. Which perpetuates the separation between human beings. Obviously, it is very necessary to ask this question. Can the mind, can one change completely? Can one transform one's life without any escapes whatsoever? what is one escaping from? What's that thing that one keeps escaping from? The one can perceive and see directly is different from the thing one escapes from. Let's repeat that statement. When one is perceiving directly, the thing one can see, is different from the thing one escapes from. In other words, when the mind is escaping, it creates its own illusions. Which becomes the thing one thinks one is escaping from. And that illusion the mind has created is so deeply believed by the mind. Therefore perpetuating that escape. When the mind is looking, perceiving, without being trapped by any thinking framework, any details created by thoughts, the thing that one had a thought one was escaping from does not exist. Please don't agree or disagree with the speaker. Can one observe it in oneself? When the mind keeps escaping, the mind creates various illusions, and that illusion, with its content, is thought by one to be the thing that one is escaping from. Therefore, that thing becomes fixed. Therefore, it perpetuates the reactions, which is the escaping behavior. when one holds on to some beliefs or ideas or theories, those things are also fixed. Therefore, directions from those things are also fixed. Therefore, one is caught up either in a belief or any patterns, which are all manifesting the escape. In that escape, they are in this fear, aren't they? When the fear is created out of that illusion, in that escaping state of the mind, when one observes all of those, one feels utterly urgent to end the escape. To end the escape means that one is eager and earnest to find out the essence of an escaping mind. When the mind is escaping, what is it doing? What does the mind do to achieve escape? And the temporary escape can also give a mind a sense of pleasure. The pleasure of being able to escape from the thing one is afraid of temporarily. Is that the mind is doing or the mind is concentrating on something? And that concentration brings about a sense of exclusion of others. In that exclusion, the mind can feel that it can forget about something temporarily, can temporarily block something out. is that the mind is doing the mind is concentrating on something to block others out, which can give the mind an illusory sense of being protected, safe. And the mind is addicted to that experience, isn't it? And in that addiction, there's indulgement with that experience. Therefore, concentration becomes the norm. And in that concentration, nothing is resolved because the mind keeps escaping all the time. Therefore, more and more issues are accumulated in the background. But the mind is so addicted to that experience, ignoring, at least attempting at ignoring the issues in the background. But as more issues are accumulated, concentration becomes more and more difficult. Because all those issues in the background keep holding one back. And when we are making more efforts to concentrate, to seek fulfillment, satisfaction, gratification, but this great struggle is there. And people can be conditioned to that struggle, accepting that struggle is normal. Praises perceive the absurdity of the thoughts of the mind, can distort everything. When one perceives all this directly, one sees that that struggle is the result of a disorder of the mind. One will never accept that disorder, because disorder is disorder. when perceive the danger of it, the urgency of staying away from danger. And that struggle, which becomes more and more intense, implies tremendous danger, tremendous fear, no danger, fear. On the one hand, various issues which are never resolved keep accumulating in the background. On the other hand, the mind makes more efforts to escape by seeking fulfillment, gratification. But the struggle becomes more and more intense. Therefore, the mind has fear of not being able to fulfill. And is this struggle behind all the restless behaviors? The escape and seeking is one process. But when the mind cannot see or perceive this one process, the mind is in a divided thinking pattern. The mind is caught up in the illusion that one can escape from the thing one don't want by seeking something else. But it is one process. It's similar that one is trying to use salt to divide a lake. But the water in the lake is one. So using a sword to divide the lake is something impossible. But the mind is caught up in the illusion of possibility to deal with the impossibility. All those implies the ignorance of the mind when it is concentrating. And in that concentration, what the mind thinks is the opposite to the truth. And the whole society, the whole world is based on the opposite to the truth. That ignorance is the root of all issues, isn't it? When the mind is concentrating, what the mind thinks is disordered. And as we have gone through today, concentration, escape, seek, it's one process. What is one to do? To completely end this life of escapes and seeking. That's to say, can the mind be free from all the traps created by concentration? That's to say, can the mind come upon full attention? Full attention is not being attentive to something, which still implies a direction, a focus. Therefore, it is still a form of concentration. Concentration implies efforts. The effort to force the mind to focus on something narrowly. And in that narrowness, more details pop up, which are all the products of thoughts. And the mind continues being indulged with that thoughts and details. Therefore, the mind is trapped in thoughts, which make one feel that it's not so much effort. But it is the initial effort to focus on something narrowly, dragging the mind into the details created by thoughts, and therefore trapped in the reactions to thoughts. Which creates a sense of immersement. To compound the full attention is to be aware of the initial effort to focus on something narrowly. Therefore, the mind is free of any efforts. In that state of being free of any efforts, the whole neuron system, or all the senses of the neuron system, is perceiving. They are very rich things which are beyond description. When the mind is aware of the initial effort to focus on something narrowly, therefore, it is free from all the efforts. The whole neural system is perceiving. And that perception, which is direct and instant, will project thoughts into the consciousness when it is not occupied. And that consciousness is different from the one that keeps concentrating and occupying the mind. That's to say, when the mind is in full attention, without any initial efforts to focus on something narrowly, the mind is observing without being intercepted or translated by the center, the me, the observer. And the mind is completely in a state of discovering something. The real issue is yet to discover. In that state of mind, there is no illusion. Therefore, there's nothing to escape. one can find and come upon an unfamiliar sense of quietude. When the mind has no escapes, no seekings, it is quiet. In that quietness, there is vitality. There is vital energy. One can say that when the mind is trapped in the concentration, there's no energy. Because the indulgence with thoughts has dissipated all the energy. Therefore, the mind lacks energy and sometimes is restless. But when the mind is really quiet, there's nothing to escape. The mind has no interest to seek, to fulfill. There's vital energy. Living becomes so urgent because the life has so many traps. Which is created from the concentration of billions of people. And one can see that the human consciousness is full of garbage, of various rubbish things. Therefore, I think the mind, one sees the danger of concentration and the disorder behind. one understands the suffering of human beings. The mind is not affected by any rubbish of this old consciousness. The mind has vital energy. The mind also perceives the danger, not danger, the suffering of the human beings. And their hopeless existence of seeking, escaping. The mind has already ended the individuality, hasn't it? Any personal issues, conflict, argument are no longer relevant. They are all the products of the concentration and the disorder. So the mind has tremendous concern for the humanity. In that concern, in that vitality, in that vital energy, the mind knows what is compassion. And the compassion is much more interesting than pleasure. Escapes, seeking. The mind is always limited to the patterns, traps. There's endless conflict, struggle. But compassion is completely boundless. Compassion is out of the single moment of living. No those petty, contradicted movement of thoughts. can live a life with compassion, with the complete understanding of compassion. Compassion crushes on all the individualities. Compassion is the solution, the only solution to all the endless conflict between the individuals. Which are escaping and seeking. Compassion is the only solution to one's all issues. Which all result from the individuality, the ego, the escaping, seeking, concentrating state of mind. The word compassion is not compassion. One must understand it by living. Living truthfully. So in that truthful living, which is full attention, the mind is discovering what is compassion. It depends on nobody, including the speaker. It finds out for oneself, for itself, the essence of compassion. I think that's enough for today's session. And thank you for people joining the session from different places. And also, yeah, like the summer star. Hey, good to see you here. Hopefully you have sit here for the whole session. Good. And hopefully we can meet in the future sessions by putting aside all the things to penetrate. So let's continue meeting as a human beings. As a human being, we are all anonymous. The names are no longer relevant, which are all the ego things. And as human beings, we put aside all the petty things, which are always in contradiction with each other. So we can observe, discover, and see the same thing, which is relevant to each human being on this planet. Also to the nature, the universe. All right. Take care. See you in the future sessions.